I think we are still in the morning. Good morning. I'd like to welcome you to the meeting of the Budget, Finance, and Audit Committee of the House and Opportunities Commission. I'm Roy Priest, the chair of the committee. And I'm also joined by Jeff Merkowitz, who is also commissioner and vice chair of the commission for our committee meeting. I'd like to welcome those of you all who may be on Zoom or YouTube, and also certainly welcome our staff who are present today. The first item for us today is to look at approval of the minutes of October 3rd, 2024.
I would make a motion that we approve those minutes.
So it's been probably moved and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We'll next go into discussion items. The first item that we have of two that we have today on our agenda. The first one deals with the calendar year 2025 portfolio budget and the presentation of our calendar year 25 portfolio budgets. And so I will turn to our president, Chelsea Andrews.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, the HOC team, and the public. This first item is coming before you in regards to seeking support to move forward with our calendar year portfolio budgets. You will note that this year we have had the benefit of having our leaders in both finance as well as property management and asset management assist in creating these budgets. Because of last year having some challenges with regards to the preparation of the budgets and staffing changes, we decided this year to really make sure that we were looking very closely at the budgets, being realistic, and also looking at our actuals, not just last year, to make a forecasting decision. I am going to turn it over to our finance team, supported by, of course, property management, to answer any questions you may have for this presentation.
Thank you, President Andrews. Commissioners, presenting this item, which is, as President Andrews alluded, an annual item to review our calendar year properties. There are 15 different properties, 15 total partnerships, 17 properties, as well as the Lindley and the Laureate. And presenting the details of these budgets will be Kai Say, our Assistant Budget Officer.
Morning, Commissioners, President Andrews, staff, and the viewing public. For the record, I'm Kai Shea, Assistant Budget Officer. I'll be going over the calendar year 2025 portfolio budgets. Historically, the Commission approved calendar year budgets for low-income housing tax credit partnerships only. The Lindley and the Laureate are operated on a calendar year basis as well. Therefore, they are included in the packet for approval of the calendar year 2025 portfolio budgets. As CFO Gettinger mentioned just now, there are 15 calendar year light tech partnerships that own 17 properties. Forest Oak Towers donated the property to HOC at the end of September, and therefore is no longer included. A fiscal year 2025 first quarter budget amendment will add a property to the fiscal year portfolio budget. If we could move to page 8, please. Thank you. The cash flow for this portfolio is restricted to the properties. However, HOC is responsible for covering any loss for stabilized properties. We're anticipating a loss at Alaska Manor of just under $44,000. This is mostly the result of higher maintenance costs due to the restructuring of the maintenance team assignments. Reallocation will be revisited, and there's expectation that the actuals will come under. The anticipated net cash flow for the portfolio is about $5.72 million compared to $10.09 million for calendar year 2024. This is mostly due to the increased debt service of the Leggett, Shady Grove, the Three Manors, and Georgian Court that are coming out of their renovations. This is offset by higher revenue from stabilization at the renovated properties, as well as increases at Tanglewood, residences on the land, and Stewart Town. So from the chart on the same page, you can see that most of the properties following the current county executive voluntary rent guideline is CEVRG of 2.6%. A few of the properties include project-based rental assistance, PBRA, and therefore the increases for those are based on the latest operating cost adjustment factor, the OCAP. And those properties have been budgeted at increases of 3.0%. The budgets were developed before the resolution that was adopted at the September 11th meeting, and staff intends to revisit the rent increases to determine if there are any adjustments that could capture more revenue. And if so, budget amendments will be made if applicable. The agency receives partnership management fees for the portfolio. We are projecting approximately 166,000, which is a decrease of 12% or 23,000, mostly due to the removal of forest oak towers. All the properties are budgeted to have adequate cash flow to generate enough funds to pay to the partner and the partnership management fee to HOC, with the exception of Lasco Manor. If we could please move to page 12, please. The minimum debt service coverage ratio, DSCR, requirement of 1.15 to 1.00 or higher is projected to be achieved for all the properties compared to calendar year 2024, with the exception of Alexander House and Farrell Park, which are projected at 1.14 and 1.12 respectively. If we could move to page 15, please. After analysis has shown that all the properties can support a full budget. And as President Andrews mentioned earlier, staff have performed very thorough analysis for the round of budgets and feel very confident in the presented numbers. If there are any questions, I will be happy to take them at this time.
No questions.
I don't have any either. I make, on this, you're just making a report to us, correct? Are you asking us to refer this forward to the full commission for action for resolution to approve this?
Correct.
If so, I would make a motion that we forward this to the full commission with our joining the staff's recommendation.
I second that motion. It's been probably moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The action is carried. We will recommend this forward to the full commission in our next meeting.
Thank you.
The next item we have is in fact dealing with the fiscal year 2026 county operating budget.
Thank you. Commissioners, as you know, we are fortunate to have the support of the county as it pertains to our resident services. In fact, our resident services personnel are generally fully funded by the county support, with very little exception. We also have the benefit of our nonprofit, HLCP, which is celebrating 25 years. The benefit of that partnership in which they have the ability to help support our programming. So it's the combination of our nonprofit and our relationship with the county that holds up the work we do in resident services. Last year, when discussing our budget with the county, I did indicate and set the stage that we would be seeking additional support around resident services personnel. And the council definitely were open and willing to hear what that request would be. I do want to caveat that this is a request. And so depending on the budget and the county's need to prioritize, that may or may not result in our full ask being approved. But what we're advancing is really a request for additional resident services personnel. Over the many years in which HOC has grown, evolved, and added units across our portfolio, we have maintained the same number of personnel in the support that we receive from the county. And so we're essentially asking for them to consider providing us with additional work years so that we can provide the resources that are needed across the portfolio. I will say that the need is even greater than this initial ask. Our thought was to just begin that conversation and get an understanding of really the size of our portfolio versus the size of the personnel that we have. And we've directed the attention on two areas that, of course, the finance team will also lift up in their presentation. That's cider mill, which we all, and I think the county could wholeheartedly agree, needs as much support as possible. Having one resident service counselor for a property with over 860 units is really challenging. And then the other area where we would like some additional support is the expansion of our HOC Academy programming. In particular, that is one of the areas where our residents really fully participate and appreciate the opportunities that they're given. We just have limited capacity to provide the programming across the county that we would like to. So additional staff would be very appreciated there. I just wanted to provide that context because this is the first time in a while that we are asking the county to help support an increase in work years. But I will turn it over to our finance team, Terry Fowler, budget officer, to provide you with this overview and with the presentation.
Thank you, President Andrews. Good morning, commissioners, President Andrews, staff, and viewing public. For the FY26 operating budget season, if we could go to the chart on page 2 of the packet, it's slightly lower than what is being shown now. Page 3, sorry, mine came up different. If we could go to right there. Thank you so much. So the Montgomery County Office of Management and Budget, they have started a staggered submission for their operating budget, but unfortunately their due dates precede our November meetings. And so we did request and receive an extension to submit our budget on November 14th to obtain commission approval at the regular meeting to be held on November 13th. The kickoff for the county budget season was held on September 18th, and the agency is required to submit a baseline budget or maximum agency request ceiling called the MARC for 26 in an amount not to exceed $8,295,315. And that MARC is based on the FY25 approved budget without any adjustments. The chart will show you that almost 84% of this grant goes towards resident services, with the majority directly paying staff. In addition, we get funds to help offset our utilities and our affordable housing portfolio. We are reimbursed for the rental license fees that we are required to pay. We have a small amount to help pay for homeownership fees in our scattered sites. And we receive two $50,000 allotments towards the rent of our 2 customer service centers. In addition to the MARC, staff will submit a request for an adjustment totaling almost $759,000. And that is comprised of approximately $379,000, which is the estimated increase to resident services compensation, health, and retirement benefits. In addition, we will be requesting approximately $369,000 also, and I'm sorry, $390,000, and that has to do with the rental license fees. And some of this has already occurred. So after our budget was approved for fiscal 25, the council approved pretty significant increases in the rental license fee, and we were not made aware of that. So we could not request to increase our reimbursement amount. The impact for this year was almost $180,000. We have been in contact with OMB and we are trying to determine if we can get that adjustment in a supplemental for 25, but we are requesting that it be put into 26. And in addition, DHCA is contemplating a second round of increases that will increase the fees further on single units. So we are requesting the total of the $390,000 to bring our reimbursement amount in line with what we anticipate paying in fiscal 26. And beyond that, we have 2 properties that will be added to our portfolio. One we have already acquired, and the total units are 440 units, and the anticipated fee is $100 per unit. So we are requesting that additional $44,000. If we can go to, yep, we're there. And so as President Andrews mentioned, it has been some time since we have requested additional funding from the county to support our resident services division, although we've added over 3,000 units to our portfolio, many which have deep affordability. So we are requesting 2 competition list items totaling $770,000. It will be comprised of an additional counselor at Cider Mill and 3 counselors that will be solely dedicated to 3 of our senior sites. Right now, the counselors at the senior sites serve not only the senior site, but surrounding scattered sites or smaller properties. And the population really requires a dedicated counselor at those sites. In addition, we have programming that we do for both youth and adults. And the goal is to add 2 additional program coordinators that can expand the programs that we offer through our HOC Academy. And the estimated cost for salary and benefits for those 2 work years, approximately $290,000. The requested adjustments and competition list items will be discussed during the budget process with the county. And in order to obtain the county executive's approval, we're putting it in at this time for his consideration and then further consideration by the council. So I would be happy to address any questions you may have related to this request that will go to the November 13th meeting for commission approval for submission of the FY26 county operating budget.
Have we had any preliminary conversation with anyone related to this request we're getting ready to make?
Yes, in fact, we've raised even publicly at last year's county council meeting that we'd be seeking additional support in terms of staffing. And then our request has been something that we've talked to the county about, the county council, as well as the county executive, in the sense that we need additional resident services staff.
In addition, I have also informed our OMB analysts that we will be putting forth this request as well.
Okay. You mentioned the fact that that the request we're making is really, and I won't call it a low ball, but it's less than the amount that we actually need.
Absolutely.
And so in our request, do we state what the real need is, what we're asking for? It's like we're giving them a deal.
No, in fact, I think what we really just wanted to do was to set the stage. We're anticipating that the questions that may be raised will tie to if these services could be provided by other partners, and, you know, getting into how our residents are being served. But I can give some context, and what I do think is important to show is the number of units that we've acquired since the last time there was an increase in staff, so that they could understand that this is really a nominal ask at this time, but being judicious and understanding that this is a difficult budget year, which the county has already set forth to every county agency that we should anticipate not receiving everything we're asking for. We offered this.
I mean, the fact that I certainly support the idea about the fact that an increased number of units have been put on, and we try to provide the same quality of services. And the fact that we have a lot in our pipeline so that they can anticipate that going forward, we may be coming back to ask for additional money.
Absolutely. That's exactly how we will frame this.
Question?
Yeah, just on the rental license fees. So I understand we have incorporated into this request the FY25 increase that we did not receive, but we're also asking for that in a supplemental. So it's sort of an either or for them.
Right. So the funding we have in our current budget was not sufficient to reimburse all the fees we paid.
Right.
When we were informed of the increase in August, we had a discussion with OMB and county finance. And they did initially ask us to try to absorb it, but we do want to circle back to them and remind them that HOC is basically to be held harmless on these fees that was set some time ago. And in fact, years ago, initially, we weren't charged the fees. But for legal purposes and to treat us like all other landlords, they charge us the fee, and our county budget includes the reimbursement of those fees. And so we are going to circle back to them in August. A lot of people are not around for us to make headway, but we are going to circle back to see if we can get the additional funds needed for fiscal 25. But in advance, we are putting in the increases that have already occurred, as well as the increases we were informed by DHCA that they intend to ask for. So we're forewarned this year, and we know that there may be additional fees, and we're putting that request out now so that if that is approved in the spring by the council, they will have our request.
Could an action be put forward to the council to in fact waive this fee requirement for HOC?
Years ago, they did it, but from a legal standpoint, it's my understanding, I was told many years when I came that was changed so that all landlords in Montgomery County were required to pay the fee. We're simply, as part of our budget, reimbursed. And so it's a
Little circuitous.
But
Yeah. So,
I don't know if you have anything.
Yeah, and just for a little bit of background, I mean, it did increase pretty dramatically this past fiscal year from
Yeah.
about $50 to 76 is what I'm looking at right now. And there's suggestions that it could raise up to $100. And this is a fee, not a tax, so it has to go towards a certain service. This is to help pay off and defray the staffing costs of the county for its rent stabilization bill.
And I will say it's the highest increase that I've seen in 20 years. In prior years, when Tim was the counterpart at DHCA, I would call him and ask, are fees anticipated to increase? And they may have gone up between $3 and $5. 2 years ago, they increased it, and it was a higher increase, but the increases that were put in place this year were significant. Sometimes upwards of 25% on a particular fee, because it depends on the type of unit it's applied to.
yeah. Well, if
I make a motion that we recommend to the full commission the approval of our submission for additional funding from the fiscal year 26 county budget.
second,
Probably moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
There is no other business to come before the committee, in which case I will adjourn the meeting of the Budget, Finance and Audit Committee as of 11:34 a.m.
Thank you.